All right, chat, today we have a new video and it's titled Why America's Most Important State is Collapsing. Now, honestly, when we react to some stuff on stream, twitch.tv/StoryofMike with 2 eyes, this came across our screen for like 5 seconds and we saw it and they're like, we have to react to it. Even though it's a geography video, it's a lot different than say like a Drewski video or a UDY video, but I think we might learn something. So we're gonna watch it and we're gonna see.
By all geographic logic, Louisiana should be the most powerful state in the country. It sits at the mouth of the Mississippi River, the single most important economic artery in North America. It should be the New York of the South, but instead, it's a state plagued by sinking land, stagnant growth, and a river that is actively trying to abandon it. So how did the most strategic
Mississippi's trying to leave Louisiana?
location on the continent become its biggest missed opportunity? I'm Geoff, and this is the geographic story behind the state of Louisiana.
The land that isn't quite land.
He's gonna talk about.
He's gonna talk about the land that's leaving, like around under New Orleans and stuff like that.
About Louisiana is that it's less geology and more of a hydrological project. You see, the southern half of the state was built almost entirely by the Mississippi River itself over the last 7,000 years. This means that the very ground in much of Louisiana is more like a sponge than a rock. As the river travels south, it carries an immense load of sediment, mud, sand, and clay eroded from the heart of the continent. When the river hits the Gulf of Mexico, it slows down, and that sediment drops out of the water column. Over millennia, layer upon layer of this mud stacked up, eventually breaking the surface of the water to create the delta. This process created the Mississippi River Delta,
which is
bird foot-shaped protrusion that extends deep into the Gulf. But here's the first major hook in our story. Because this land was created by loose mud rather than tectonic uplift, it is incredibly unstable. Southern Louisiana is essentially a wet sponge. The water table is mere inches below the surface. If you dig a hole in New Orleans, it fills with water almost immediately. There's
like New Orleans, I'm pretty sure I remember this stat. It is like 32 feet under the sea level. Like, that's insane. Like, I know I say that's insane in a lot of these videos, but that's pretty gnarly, I guess. Let's think of a new word, I guess.
No bedrock here, just thousands of feet of muck. This creates a terrifying reality for anyone trying to build here. The land is naturally sinking.
It's not
As
safe.
the water is squeezed out of the mud by the weight of the soil above it, the ground compacts and lowers. But historically, the river had a solution for this. It would flood every spring, depositing a fresh layer of mud to counteract the sinking. It was a perfect, self-sustaining cycle. But then humans decided to break that cycle. Geographically, southern Louisiana is defined by a distinct lack of solid boundaries. In most places, you know where the land ends and the ocean begins.
And then we also learned this in school too, because it has actively been going away. But a lot of like that at the bottom, chat, is not going to be there in the next 10 years. Just because of what he just said, like the mud, and it's just washing away. So, yeah.
Louisiana, that line is more like a suggestion. The southern coast is a labyrinth of salt marshes, bayous, and cypress swamps. This is the famous bayou country. The marshes are vast expanses of grasses that act as buffers against hurricanes, absorbing storm surge before it hits the populated areas. The swamps are forested wetlands dominated by bald cypress and water tupelo trees, adapted to live permanently in standing water. And the cheniers are ancient beach ridges that run parallel to the coast, often the only high ground, and by high ground we mean 5 to 10 feet above sea level, where people can safely live. Navigating this terrain historically required local knowledge that outsiders simply didn't possess. It wasn't about moving across land, it was about moving through a liquid landscape that changed with the tides and the seasons. But while the south is sinking mud, the north is a different world entirely. North
Louisiana is like not even Louisiana. Like, let me know if you agree with this, chat. Like, I'm not even kidding. The North Louisiana, it just feels like South Arkansas. I swear, half the time. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wilding, but I feel like that's what it feels like sometimes.
The city of Alexandria,
they be getting like snow when we don't get snow, and like it's insane. I don't know.
Alluvial plain gives way to the tertiary hills. Here the geography starts to look much more like East Texas or Arkansas than the swampy stereotypes of the South. This region is dominated by the piney woods, rolling hills covered in dense pine forests, and red clay soil. This land is older, geologically speaking. It was formed millions of years ago, not by recent river mud, but by ancient marine deposits when the Gulf of Mexico extended much further north. And most critically, this land is solid. It sits at a higher elevation and the soil here drains well. The bedrock
I honestly didn't know that the Gulf went that far. I didn't realize that. Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing this.
But the most critical geographic feature isn't any of these things. It's actually the river's desire to move. Not flow, move. The first thing you need to know is that rivers aren't static pipelines.
Yeah,
they're living,
obviously.
serpentine entities. So much so that they can often feel very much alive. As a river builds a delta, the path to the ocean eventually becomes too long and inefficient. The sediment piles up, blocking the flow, and the slope of the river becomes too shallow. Eventually, the river will naturally look for a shorter, steeper path to the sea. This is the ticking time bomb at the heart of Louisiana's geography.
Man.
Roughly every 1,000 years, the Mississippi River naturally changes its course, abandoning its old delta to wither and erode while building a new one elsewhere. We know that the river has shifted its mouth east and west across the Louisiana coast, like a fire hose flailing out of control for millennia. And right now, the Mississippi River is bored of its current path past New Orleans. It's tired of the Bird's Foot Delta. Physically, the river wants to jump west. It wants to flow down the Atchafalaya River, which offers a path to the Gulf of Mexico that is 150 miles.
That will be so insane. I don't think people understand because of, I don't know how many people have driven through Louisiana. But if the Mississippi actually does go that way, that changes a lot. So
Shorter and much steeper than the current route. If nature were allowed to take its course, the Mississippi would have switched paths back in the 1970s. The main channel would have bypassed Baton Rouge and New Orleans entirely, turning them into saltwater estuaries and effectively ending their economic viability overnight.
That would be interesting. That would have been interesting. I'm not gonna lie, because there's a lot of development in that area. Like a city I think of that's like really rich, that's in this highlight, is Mandeville. Got obviously Kenner's right out of New Orleans. Got Zachary near Baton Rouge. Like, that's a lot, I'm not gonna lie.
This presents the ultimate geographic paradox. The very river that created Louisiana, and the very river that gives the state its economic purpose, is currently being held hostage against its will. But if its will was allowed to happen, it would simultaneously destroy Louisiana's primary purpose for existing. So, we have a state that's completely dependent on a wild river that refuses to sit still. That is, until humans came along. And humans have been interfering with the Mississippi for a long, long time. The Mississippi River is desperate to change its course to avoid being in one fixed path. And honestly, in the digital world, being trapped in one fixed path.
It's just such a crazy like river. I'm not gonna lie. I can sense that this. So. Empires of the Mud.
Before any European flag waved over the Delta, this was a bustling hub of indigenous civilization. The Poverty Point culture, located in what is now northeastern Louisiana, built massive earthworks and mounds over 3,000 years ago, before the Parthenon in Greece or the Colosseum in Rome. And these weren't simple hunter-gatherers. They were sophisticated engineers who understood the complex hydrology of the region, using the rivers for trade networks that spanned thousands of miles. By the time Europeans arrived, groups like the Caddo, Choctaw, Natchez, and Chitimacha controlled the territory. They had mastered the bayous, navigating the liquid landscape with dugout canoes that baffled early European explorers. Before the Europeans, Louisiana wasn't a home, it was a back door. In 1682, the French explorer René Robert Cavelier drifted down the Mississippi River from Canada. When he reached the mouth, he claimed the entire drainage basin of the river for King Louis XIV of France, naming it La Louisiane.
So that's why. Okay, that makes sense. Hey, that's smart. That dude went through hey bro, he went through the entire river.
This was an audacious claim. With a few words, France theoretically owned the heart of the North American continent, from the Rockies to the Appalachians. But claiming it and holding it were two very different things. The French realized early on that to control the continent, they needed to control the mouth of the river. In 1718, Jean-Baptiste Le Moyne de Bienville founded New Orleans. He chose a spot on a natural levee, a sliver of high ground created by the river's own sediment, located at a strategic curve where the river became closest to Lake Pontchartrain. It was a brilliant strategic decision and a horrible habitable one. The site was infested with mosquitoes, prone to flooding, and surrounded by impenetrable...
It's like, imagine you live in Canada, right? You gotta think about Canada, right? Canada has this whole thing, and I'm gonna go full camera while I explain this. Like, Canada has this whole thing where it's like snow. You don't see mosquitoes in Canada. This dude, like, not drove. He rowed a boat all the way down the river, and then like years later, they're like, "Yeah, we have to have control of the foot of the thing." So they go to the foot of the Mississippi and they inhabit New Orleans, and it's South Louisiana. It's humid. There's no more snow. They had more snow back then in 17, I'm assuming, but it's not as much snow. It's getting a lot hotter. It's humid. They got mosquitoes. I would have just went back to Canada. I would have been like, yeah, y'all take care of this. We got New Orleans. I'm gonna go back to Canada though. That's what I would have done, bro. I'm not gonna lie. For some reason, my music was still playing.
Cypress swamps. Early settlers died in droves from yellow fever and malaria. Exactly. It was nicknamed the wet grave. Yet the city survived, largely due to a dark reality: the forced labor of enslaved Africans. Unlike the English colonies where slaves were primarily agricultural workers, in early Louisiana, enslaved people were also the engineers. They built the levees, cleared the cypress swamps, and brought with them the knowledge of rice cultivation from West Africa that made the
Which is like, it's so insane. Like, man, bro. Like, they did a lot, bro. And it's like, without that, you don't have a lot of the stuff today, because the Mississippi is so important, and the fact this laid down the foundation for a lot. Imagine if they didn't do this and Louisiana never developed, Louisiana was never sold, that helped France, like, because of the money sold, and it helped the US because they bought, like, man, it's a lot of butterfly effect going on.
Colony distinct. But here's where Louisiana's history takes a sharp turn from the rest of the US. In 1762, France, losing the 7 Years' War, secretly gifted Louisiana to Spain to keep it out of British hands. For nearly 40 years, Louisiana was Spanish. This is why the famous French Quarter in New Orleans actually features Spanish architecture with iron balconies and courtyards, rather than French colonial styles. During this Spanish period, a massive migration occurred that would define the state's culture forever.
Which, once again, I don't remember this in history. Like, I'm not stupid. We did not learn this in history. I swear we didn't. I swear we only learned that France had it.
The Acadians, French settlers violently expelled from Canada by the British, found refuge in the swamps of South Louisiana. They were poor, isolated, and fiercely independent. Over time, Acadians slurred into Cajun. They adapted to the bayous, creating a unique culture completely separate from the aristocratic Creole society of New Orleans. But just as the Spanish were getting comfortable, the chessboard flipped again. Napoleon Bonaparte reacquired Louisiana for France in 1800 with dreams of a
Which I remember this. Maybe we did learn it. I don't know.
North American empire. But after a disastrous defeat in Haiti due to a slave revolt and yellow fever, Napoleon decided to cut his losses. In 1803, the United States was a young, fragile country huddled along the Atlantic coast. President Thomas Jefferson wanted to buy just the city of New Orleans to ensure American farmers could ship goods down the Mississippi.
Bro, of course, bro wanted just New Orleans. He was like, yeah, what y'all's engineers and people doing with the rice, we want just that. We don't want nothing else. Bro, what you mean? You're not gonna take the most important part, bro? Like, you're not gonna just, like, they're not gonna just give you the most important part.
Mississippi. But Napoleon offered him the whole thing. For $15 million, about 4 cents an acre, the U.S. doubled in size. Louisiana became the 18th state in...
And without that, I'm not gonna lie, does the U.S. even go, like, does the Oregon Trail and stuff even happen if they don't buy Louisiana? Does Spain take that?
1812. Just in time to prove its worth. The Battle of New Orleans in 1815, the last battle of the War of 1812, saw a ragtag group of pirates, frontiersmen, slaves, and soldiers defeat the British Empire, cementing American control over the river and ensuring the lucrative cotton and sugar industry, fueled by human slavery, remained in operation. Because of this, New Orleans became the wealthiest city in America and the largest slave market in the country. It was the banking capital of the South, a cosmopolitan mix of languages, races, and money. The Mississippi River was the interstate of the era.
And it's like the way this dude is talking, you would genuinely, I mean, it is the most important state according to him. Like, you would think Louisiana is so insane today. You would think it is so insane today. Tell me why Louisiana is one of the dumbest states. Everybody that graduates from LSU, SLU, UL, La Tech, they leave Louisiana. Like, you see what I mean? Like, it's like, where everybody going if this is such a good state? Because that's how you mess stuff up. Stuff got messed up.
Filled with steamboats carrying the wealth of the interior to the world. But this prosperity was built on a rotting foundation. The economy was entirely dependent on enslaved labor and the dual commodities of cotton and sugar. And when the Civil War broke out, Louisiana became an early target. The Union Navy captured New Orleans in 1862 without firing a single shot at the city itself. They simply sailed past the forts at the river's mouth. The capture of New Orleans strangled the Confederacy, but it also broke Louisiana's economy. With the end of slavery and the destruction of the plantation system, the state's
that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, yeah. Fairs. I mean, yeah. I mean, when you have no more, free labor, it's kind of hard to keep the economy.
Wealth evaporated. In post-Civil War Louisiana didn't recover like the North. It sank into poverty, violence, and the repressive Jim Crow laws. The wealthy merchant class was replaced by a corrupt political machine. But as the 20th century dawned, a new resource was discovered that promised to make Louisiana rich again. Oil was found in the bayous. And with the oil came a man who would...
It's like, chat, like, look at this, bro. We had cotton, we had the lake, we had the Mississippi. We were bought for $15 million. Thomas Jefferson just wanted one city, and you got oil. It's like, how did they mess it up? Like, actually.
Changed the state more than anyone since Bienville, a man who was either a savior or a dictator, depending on who you asked. The Kingfish was coming, and he would set the stage for the modern failure of the state today.
Am I dumb? The failure of potential. Is this Huey P. Long, or is this too early?
Today, Louisiana consistently ranks near the bottom of national lists for
he actually showed it. Oh man, bro. He actually showed it, bro. We weren't supposed to actually show it. Opportunity 46. Who's worse than Louisiana? Economy 50 makes sense. Fiscal stability 46. Who's worse than healthcare 44? Goodness. Infrastructure makes sense. Crime, yeah.
Opportunity, healthcare, infrastructure, and economic stability. It also has a population that is shrinking, losing 40,000 people since 2020. While states,
it's the brain drain. Yeah, we learned that a lot because everybody, like, I like in my classes, like we've had this question by professors: who's all leaving when you graduate? And like everybody raises their hand. It's like that. It's that bad.
It's like Texas and Florida, which have far less strategic river access.
And it's only gonna get worse too. I'm a Paul's demon. I don't care. Texas is about to have Austin, and I gotta convince 23, Leak and Quan and the boys or Sean to move to Austin, or is it Austin or Houston? One of those two, because that city is about to be insane. And Texas already has 3 other cities that you can go to from Austin or Houston. I don't know which one it is. But Texas is really good. Like, there's so many states that have so much going for them. Like, they're saying Austin's going to be the new New York of the South.
Have exploded in growth. So, how did the state with the ultimate geographic advantage end up falling so far behind? The first reason for Louisiana's failure is that its most important city, New Orleans, is physically incapable of behaving like a normal metropolis. In the 19th century, while cities like Chicago and New York were rapidly outward onto solid ground, New Orleans was trapped. Because the city sits on natural levees, the only high ground was a thin sliver along the river. Everything else was swamp. To expand, the city had to drain the back swamp. But here's the engineering tragedy. When you drain the water out of Louisiana mud, the land sinks. As New Orleans expanded in the 20th century, it essentially dug itself into a hole, which means today
it's so
half
difficult
of the city is below sea level, sitting in a bowl surrounded by levees.
That's why like the like Mandeville for one is good because it's above Lake Pontchartrain. It doesn't have that much water under the soil. Like there are some cities around that are like building and doing a lot more, but you're gonna have to go more to Baton Rouge because it's more north where it's like they can actually build on the soil.
This creates a unique economic impediment. Risk. Capital is cowardly. Big banks, insurance companies, and corporate headquarters prefer boring, stable geography. They don't like investing billions of dollars in a city that requires massive pumps just to keep the rain out, or that could be wiped out by a single hurricane, which very nearly happened in 2005. And so, while Chicago became the rail hub of the country and New York the financial hub, New Orleans remained a shipping hub and nothing more. It was a place to move goods through, not a place to build wealth in. But while the geography was difficult, the politics were disastrous.
Oh man, the politics are
Louisiana's
bad.
government is so distinctly dysfunctional today, all roads lead back to one man in the 1930s, Huey P. Long.
Yep, I knew it, bro. I knew it. Huey P. Long, bro. We had a whole unit about Huey P. Long, bro.
Nicknamed the Kingfish, Long is perhaps the most controversial governor in American history. In the early 20th century, Louisiana was run by a
so many
stiff
crazy
oligarchy of
principles,
wealthy
bro.
planters and businessmen who ignored the poor. And so Long swept into power as a populist firebrand, promising to make every man a king. And to his credit, he mostly delivered. He built thousands of miles of paved roads.
He did a lot.
He did a lot. And charity hospitals. He gave free textbooks to school children, and he taxed the Standard Oil Company to pay for it all. But the price of this progress was also the destruction of democratic norms. Long didn't just govern Louisiana, he owned it. He controlled the legislature, the courts, and the police.
Which is why it was so dictatorish.
And patronage to consolidate absolute power, effectively turning Louisiana into a dictatorship within the United States. He even required state employees to pay a portion of their salary to his campaign chest. While he was assassinated in the state capitol in 1935, his legacy survived. Long established a political culture where corruption wasn't an anomaly. It was the operating system. For decades, Louisiana politics became famous for pay-to-play deals.
But it's like, without it, you don't have certain good things that happen, but think about if there wasn't corruption, like you wouldn't see Louisiana 50th in like crime. You know what I mean?
Economic effect.
That's the theory, at
innovative
least,
businesses stayed away. Why build a factory in Louisiana if you have to bribe a dozen officials just to get a permit? The state became hostile to free enterprise, favoring instead a closed loop of cronyism. And then there was Louisiana's oil riches, which weren't as helpful as you might expect. In the mid-20th century, it seemed like Louisiana might finally catch a break. Massive reserves of oil and natural gas were discovered offshore and in the bayous. But this turned out to be a curse in disguise. Economists call it the resource curse, or the Dutch disease. When a region has a superabundance of one lucrative natural resource, it often fails to develop other sectors of its economy. Louisiana,
because they get so tunnel visioned on that one thing,
got addicted to oil money. The state didn't need to innovate, educate its workforce, or diversify its industries because the oil checks kept clearing. This reliance on the petrochemical industry created Cancer Alley, an 85-mile stretch along the Mississippi River between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, lined with over 150 plants and refineries.
Just
While these plants provide jobs,
many
they also emit massive amounts of pollution. This creates a quality of life crisis. Modern, high-tech workers, the kind that drive the economies of Austin, Seattle, or Raleigh, generally don't want to live in a place associated with high pollution.
Which is why Austin is going to be so good.
The result is a massive brain drain. Louisiana educates
brain
its young
drain.
people.
There it is. I called it earlier. Y'all heard me, bro. Brain drain. Like nobody is raising their hands saying they're staying in Louisiana in college.
At universities like LSU and Tulane, only to watch them move to Houston.
Hey, I didn't mention Tulane. Tulane's good. I am a pause demon. Next video, we are going to have a pause counter. And if it's over 200, I'm gifting 10 subs to the stream.
Atlanta for better jobs and a cleaner environment. And of course, we have to return to the geography. The ultimate reason Louisiana is failing today
back to
is
the
that
river.
It's currently fighting a losing war against the Mississippi River itself. You see, the river wants to change course. But if it did, the economies of Baton Rouge and New Orleans would collapse, as they would no longer be the main shipping channel. To prevent this, the U.S. government built the old river control structure, a massive concrete gate system designed to force the Mississippi to stay in its right way. It's the most important piece of infrastructure in America that nobody knows about. If this structure fails during a major flood, and it almost did in 1973, the Mississippi River would jump course. The industrial corridor would be stranded without fresh water or shipping access. The salt water from the Gulf would rush up the old riverbed, ruining the drinking water for millions. And so, Louisiana is forced to spend billions of dollars and endless political energy just to maintain the status quo. While other states are planning for the future, Louisiana is frantically trying to stop the ground from disappearing. In fact, the state is losing a football field's worth of land to the ocean every 100 minutes due to coastal erosion.
Oh, it's not every day anymore. When I heard that stat, it was every day. I'm not gonna lie. Ooh. No, I heard this stat multiple times. When I was real young, it was every day. And when I was in high school, they said a football field every 100 minutes. Okay, so we're still on a good path, because I haven't been in high school in a long time. It's been 4 years. Yeah. Okay, that's not bad. 4 years is still the same. It's going the same speed. Hopefully we do figure something out, because I mean, man, Louisiana is losing a lot of, like, it's, Louisiana.
Ultimately, Louisiana is a strategy of geography and governance. It's a state built on land that doesn't want to be land, anchored by a river that doesn't want to be there, and governed by a system that historically prioritized short-term extraction over long-term growth. All of this has combined to create the state that we see today, one that just barely seems to be able to hold on. By all rights, Louisiana should be up there with Florida, New York, Texas, and California as the dominant states of the United States. It acts as a shield and a funnel for the rest of the country. It absorbs the hurricanes so the interior doesn't have to. It processes the oil and gas that continues to power so much. And most importantly, it drains the water from 31 states. And so, in many ways, Louisiana didn't fail, but it was sacrificed. This week, I'm in one of the least visited national parks of the country, the Channel Islands, a place that is both beautiful and geographically fascinating. If you want to see what this place is all about—
Oh, wait, this dude is smart. Yo, he's promoting another video. I wonder what it is. Let me see.
Come join me over on my travel channel. I hope you enjoyed
learning. Ooh, it's another channel. That's fire. This dude's smart, bro. We're definitely going to watch more of his videos. I don't know if we're going to upload a bunch of them, because this is like educational and a lot of people don't like that. But hey, if you watched the whole video, man, make sure to follow the Twitch like I said. Hope you guys enjoyed. I actually learned a lot from this video, so that's actually pretty cool. So yeah, make sure y'all go, support Geoff's video if you want.